Hi and welcome to Wellbeing. I'm Sarah Marshall and I'm here with my colleague Ashley Meyer. Hi Ashley.
Hi Sarah.
Hi. And in this video we're going to talk about what is ME. Now we're going to be talking about what is ME from our perspective as non-medical practitioners who have jointly specialised in this area for about 16 years now. Now we know there's a lot of controversy, a lot of discussion, a lot of confusion about what it actually is. So in our opinion, what is ME, Ashley?
Okay, well I think that the mere question is actually beckoning for an answer which is kind of one or two words and sort of saying this is it and this is what you need to do about it. And clearly over the decades that has never led to any answer that's helped anyone in a significant way. And so different medical specializations have looked for different answers, be it bacterial or viral, be it hormonal, be it, whatever the case may be. Everyone's been sort of looking for the answer that fits within their modality. The same can be true within the complementary field as well. Each different field looking for sort of the specific answer, but clearly that's not going to happen.
No.
So really what ME is it's a multifactorial burnout of the system. So it's a burnout situation that leads to a physical malfunction.
Okay, so actually from what you're saying, ME is what we know it. The state of ME isn't actually the start of what's going on.
No.
So as you said, it's multifactorial, there's a multisystemic malfunction. So what are some of the factors that contribute to this state, this condition, Ashley?
Okay, well really, in order for a body to recover from any condition, the body needs to be in the right state. And so very often when we for example, taking medication for a particular condition that we might be having, what the medication is doing is putting our body in some sort of appropriate state where the body can start to heal itself. Okay, so provided we can get the body into the correct state for healing or recovery, then the body's going to recover from what's happening for it. Now, in ME, what's happening is that the body is in a state that isn't conducive to recovery. We call that the maladaptive stress state. We have a different video which puts sort of a lot of detail into what that really entails. But essentially what the maladaptive stress state is that the body's stuck in a stress state where physiologically there's been some kind of malfunction of the system where the different organs are responding in a different way. So the system's become sort of so stressed, there's overcompensating, if you like, or certain systems have been upregulated, other systems have been downregulating. So you just find the physiologically the body's in a state where the system is not sort of working very effectively. Now, so the maladaptive stress state is very much a key to one of the factors that's going on. What causes the maladaptive stress state in the first stage is, as you say, a number of different factors.
So it might be helpful for us to identify the general areas of the different factors and how they can start to come together to cause this multisystemic malfunction and the maladaptive stress response.
Okay, so as you say, there are a number of different factors, and for each person the makeup's going to be slightly different. So some of the factors might be physical in nature. And so there may be sort of certain things that are just going on in the body of a physical nature. They may have been there for absolute decades, since childhood, and those physical factors are at play, constantly putting a load on the system.
So they could be what we've called as the predetermining factors on our seesaws in our e-book. Absolutely. And so this could even include genetic factors, or allergies, intolerances, things like that are at play on a physiological level. And the ongoing weight that puts on the system becomes one of the factors contributing to ME. Other factors may be of a psychological nature, and we can break those down and get much more specific about them. But essentially what we're talking about is behavioral factors, we're talking about emotional factors, and we're also looking sort of at the area of trauma in some cases. So some of the behavioral factors might be driving ourselves too hard. So we may be sort of a very sort of high achieving predisposition,
or we may be perfectionists in the way we conduct ourselves. So we're very much kind of pushing in whatever we do. Or we may be sort of the type of person that puts a lot of energy outwards but doesn't actually put very much back. So we may be sort of very much kind of love to help other people and do for other people, but we don't actually look after our own needs. Okay. So if we're doing that on a consistent basis, then what's happening is that the demands are getting heavier and heavier, but the resources aren't there to support those demands. We may also be sort of quite an anxious predisposition as well, and that may be to do with sort of factors that have happened to us in younger years. So again, then we start looking at if we sort of there of slight sort of anxiety area there, and we might be sort of driving ourselves very hard and not putting very, very much back, we start to sort of see a picture of why the system is being weighed down in that way.
Okay. Now, some people, as soon as they hear the mind mentioned, psychology mentioned, working with behaviours and cognitive factors, they can start to think, well, are you saying it's all to do with my mind? Is it a physical condition? What would you say to that? Actually?
Well, it clearly, without shadow of a doubt, is a physical condition. However, as we said before, if we're talking about the need for the body to be in the correct state in order for recovery to take place, we need to start to find a way of relaxing the system. Therefore, we need to sort of find a way of dealing with the factors that were putting the system under that stress state in the first place. And if we've been talking about behavioural issues, I drive myself too hard, I need to strive and perfect and be the best at what I do, or if we're talking about emotional factors such as trauma in our past, then we start to get a sense of, yes, it is appropriate to be working on the mind in order to deal with those areas so that the body can start getting into the correct state.
Yeah, because that is going to lead us to burning ourselves out, as you said, using up all our resources, and that leads to a very physical state.
Absolutely. And if we talk about this multi-systemic breakdown, so we're talking about one system affecting the other, then clearly we're including the mind in that as well.
Yeah.
And I think that what we are very closely looking at is what processes start to happen on a mind level that keep the stress state in place.
Right.
And once we start to become aware of that, then we can very clearly sort of put some practices and some tools in place to start breaking the cycle.
And I'm sure a lot of people will recognise that when they've been quite stressed, they might end up with some kind of headache or tension. So we already know that how we push ourselves can have a very real physical impact.
Yeah, very much so. And actually sort of working at a mind level, although at some level there may be a little bit of resistance to accepting that or doing that, once we actually do take that on board, we actually find that the resources are within ourselves to make the changes that we need to make.
Which can be quite empowering once
very
we
much
get to
so.
that place.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've looked at predetermining factors, we've looked at the lifestyle factors and how the seesaw starts to be tipped and how there's a significant demand on our systems.
Yeah.
And that's almost impacted by the fact that we don't have that many resources to begin with, which is what you've mentioned. We might put other people's needs before ours, and therefore we don't have the resources to meet our own needs.
Yes.
Now, how does that lead to ME and the crash? Because a lot of people have been through a highly stressful period in their lives, and yes, they may have been impacted, but they recover and they are still able to work and do the different things that they have in their lives. So how do we go from that to the crash and ME?
Well, essentially what happens is that as the resources start to become fewer and the demands start to increase, that puts a greater stress on the body. Now, when that gets into sort of a situation which is sort of so elongated, then the body gets stuck in that state, and whatever we then might sort of start to sort of remove from the external in terms of stressors doesn't seem to have an impact on the body, because the body's sort of stuck in a state where it actually sort of can't recover. Then when we start to sort of experience more significant symptoms that are then sort of beyond just sort of feeling a bit fluey, then that starts to become a stressful situation in itself.
Yeah.
And then when we start to sort of seek answers and find that we're not getting the answers that are helping us, that then starts to become more stressful.
Okay, so there's yet another demand on the fact that we're ill and we don't really know what's happening.
Absolutely.
Now, some people mention triggers, and so how does a trigger fit into this picture?
Okay, so for some people there is a specific trigger that they can sort of pinpoint. It was at that time that it all started for me. And quite often glandular fever's been mentioned. And indeed sort of some people sort of say, well, I started with glandular fever and I never fully recovered, or some other kind of viral infection. But actually what's happening is that putting something like glandular fever onto a system that is already impaired in the way that we've just described, that is what really triggers the condition.
Right, okay.
So it's not the glandular fever as such, it's the glandular fever on top of a system that just doesn't have the resources to deal with it.
So basically it could be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And it could be something like glandular fever or virus, but equally it could be sort of some other stressful life event. So it could be a bereavement, it could be an accident, it could be sort of something related to work, something that's very stressful that just pushes the system over the edge.
Yeah. So what we're essentially saying is ME is a process, and it's a system that may have been slightly out of balance to begin with because of inherited behaviours, but deficiencies.
Yeah.
We might have lack of resources depending on our upbringing, our childhood, and then the system is taken out of balance enough for long enough for the system not to be able to handle it and for it to malfunction and for the deficiencies to come in.
Yeah, very much so. Absolutely.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add, Ashley, before we finish?
I think that the other two videos that we have, the one about the maladaptive stress response and the other about the stages of recovery, are both very important videos to watch, because they really give you sort of insight into what's happening physiologically when the body's in the stress state, and then understanding how to address recovery through different stages starts to give you a very clear idea of where you are and what you need to address. So I think that what we're saying is that it's not going to be a condition that one tablet or one appropriate treatment is going to treat, but actually when we really get clear about what it is and how to address it, recovery becomes entirely possible.
Okay, so thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
So now things are starting to be more clear about what ME is and how to start to address the different factors. Then do look at our website and the videos that Ashley mentioned to progress from here. Our website is www.uwellbeing.com, and thank you.
Thank you.